Smith, and this is our week. We've been talking about Facebook Live, or Facebook ads, all week long. And so this is one of our local brick and mortar clients. They've got a huge flooring store. They've got all types of different flooring. Been in business for...
Since 1973.
Since 1973, so over 50 years. And I wanted to have him kind of talk to you about how Facebook's helped them, because they are a local business. And when we first brought it to him, he wasn't very, open to that. It was new. I mean, the social media, you guys were used to doing newspaper, TV, radio, just the traditional ways. And a lot of businesses,
right,
they are kind of, stiff to that idea. And so we finally did start running it. And what I know, we actually went out to eat the other day, and some people came up to you and had seen him on the actual internet, and it kind of made him like a little pro, in the town. So what?
Well, what I'd have to say is, wait, it ain't been 50 years. You're making me old. It's been about only 45.
Oh,
but
okay.
that ain't bad.
Okay, well.
But
math's not much
here's what I see though, Mike. Back in the 70s and even 80s, before all that TV had 500 channels and all that, used to be I could pick from 3 channels. I had just maybe 2 radio stations. Then we had a newspaper. Back in them days, newspaper was huge.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you, it has totally changed. And it's hard when you do things, a lot of years at work, to try to change is not easy. It's just not easy. But here's the thing that I see happen in the last few years. It got very expensive. Let me tell you, it takes money now to put things on TV. It takes money to put things on the radio. But newspaper to me is about done. I mean, it's just about done. And I hate to see it, and I hate to see a lot of the things that's about done. So anyway, I had to take a long look, and you come in here and talk to me, and we had to take a long look where we're at. I try to spend about 5% of my volume into advertising, and so there are some months we spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month. What I'm seeing now is, by dealing with you, and you show me kind of the new ways, and we all know that the social medias and things like that they're here whether we like them or not. They're just here.
Yeah.
But what you've been able to do for me is, for the buck, I get so much more out of it. And then another thing that I see, that you can pinpoint down into areas that I want to deal with. I can narrow that field down, so I'm not spending $5,000 in advertising, and a 5-year-old's hearing it, and a 80-year-old hearing it, and somebody doesn't even have a house that's hearing it. So now what you've taught me to do is narrow it down. But also, we're having fun. We're making videos. We're cutting things ourselves. And like I say, it was amazing. And I think here's the biggest misconception, I think, in advertising. You can advertise in one thing and think the world's going to be great.
Yeah, you talk.
If it was that easy, everybody would do it.
Yep.
So what I think, what the hardest thing in business to do is get yourself branded. That when someone that maybe give you example needs carpet, they only come because they heard about us, and we did business with them maybe. But maybe they don't need anything for once every 10 years, 15 years. But somehow you got to get your name out there. Man, it's amazing what you can do, but it's also amazing what you did for us. So and I know I'm kind of rambling on
this
here
is
a little
good.
bit.
I mean, people need to hear this. This is from...
I just think you got to do 2 things. You got to spend money to brand yourself. And number 2 is, don't think it's going to happen overnight. I have literally spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get myself branded. But let me tell you, it's not me. What about some of these major companies? What about Tide soap, for instance? They have literally spent millions, not only on just advertising, billions, but also, how's that box look?
Yeah.
People come in, they see this good-looking gal, all that stuff. And I think that's what you can do for people.
Yeah, the neat thing about it is too, a lot of times, you can only advertise at a certain time with your newspaper because you got to create it, then it goes out. But maybe something changes and you want to change right away. Like today, we've been cutting commercials all morning long, and you can do it on the fly like that. You know where every penny's going. You can see how many people are viewing it. And here's the great thing, and I know we've talked about this a lot, because he really understands the branding aspect. Being in business, I mean, you've been actually in business for over 50 years. Yeah. And so you're seeing somebody that's seen the whole spectrum and transition of business and marketing in the last, it's changed a lot lately, but the retargeting. Everybody that watches our videos now that you've cut and that you've created, we can go back and just market to those people. And I think that's where a lot of people just don't see that you can like you said, target. You don't have to waste all your money to hopefully get that group in there. You can say, hey, I want to show this to 30 to 40-year-old women that have kids in high school and that own a home, and that's where the ad goes. But the ability to brand, we put a pixel on their website, and we didn't talk a lot about pixeling. I know Michelle's really going to get into the pixel today over at Instagram, but we really want to talk about that pixel because it's getting better and better and better. And you might have heard a lot of it. They call it cookies, all that stuff. The news has been talking about all these crazy things, and the reason why they're talking about it is because it's so powerful and it's such a neat way to track. I know we were at Michelle, we were at the Christmas thing, and your brother said that he here, why don't you come over here real quick? Just come over here. And has always been in business since then, and just doing advertising, cutting commercials. We were actually just watching one of your old commercials just a minute ago. But I just want to, really put that in there, because it's not like she's read a bunch of books to figure out advertising, or it's not like she, went to some fancy school or something like that. Like, she's been in it and figured it out just through pure experience and wisdom and things like that. But we were at your brother's for Thanksgiving. What was he saying about the?
Well, Teresa had sent him a picture.
And what's their business? They own a.
Well, it was something she wanted.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
He had sent her a picture, and the funny thing is Todd's like, I clicked on it, and now it just followed me everywhere I went. He goes, every time I went to something else, that picture would pop up, and people don't understand that was their intention, and they pixel you. And you've had that happen to you before.
Yeah.
What was that with the barbecue or something?
Yeah, the barbecues.
Oh yeah, I was looking for barbecue, and man, I'll tell you what, that baby followed me for 2 months.
Yeah, so anytime you get on, because you read the news and look at some of that
They followed
stuff.
me so much I had to buy something else.
Yeah, and that's
See, it worked.
And I've been talking about this all week long, because we've been talking about Facebook ads. But back, let's say in the 60s or 70s or something like that, wouldn't, like, a business owner back then, or I mean, you were in business then, wouldn't it have been neat if you could just pop up a commercial like that and just show it to whoever? I mean, how is that so different now?
Michael, back in them days, a lot of times you advertise, give example on Channel 2, and most people seen it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was. Or they opened a newspaper, about everybody read the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
But that's gone.
When was the last time you watched a commercial?
Oh, you don't.
Yeah, because
What do you do?
Fast forward to go through it. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what, I think too, what I tried, and me and Michael, we've talked to Michelle, but over the years is you got to spend money to advertise. You got to spend money to brand yourself, but do it the most inexpensive way. But I still say, and we talked about that, but darn it, you cannot advertise one time or for 30 days and think you're going to conquer the world. You can't do that. It's got to be something you got to do every day. And one thing what I like about Mike and Michelle both is a lot of times they can set us up into a budget. Whether you got $500 to spend a month or $5,000 or $10,000 a month, but then use that the best way possible to zero in on the people that you want to do business with. And I'll guarantee you it works. It just works.
I do want to hear what you have to say, because we have talked about this, and I've always wanted a chance. He's very busy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. To get him on is an honor, really. But what is it that you talked about branding, and it was always like advertising stuff, but lately you've really had this real big change in your mind about branding. Like, what would you say to these people that maybe they've only been in business 5 years, maybe 10 years, or they're not really big into the advertising or online? How important is that branding, and why do you think
Well, I think a lot of this, since you've been doing this and we've been talking a lot of time, and you talk about clients that you've dealt with, and all of a sudden maybe a week went by or 2 weeks went by, and they spent $500 and they think they ought to make $10,000. Mm-hmm. Well, it don't work that way. It never has worked that way. If it worked that way, we'd all be millionaires. So the guy that's going to make it in business, he's got to get in them trenches. He's got to dig down deep. He's got to work hard. But then what I think that they can do for you is take the money that you allocate for advertisement and do the best thing you can for the least amount of money. And the thing that I love is how they can channel it down into people that you want to deal with. That to me is important. But I'll tell you another thing. I think the biggest misconception in life is business is a little bit slow. Cut back on my advertisement. Boy, that's the worst thing you can do. You might cut back on taking mom out to eat or the car or whatever it is, but you don't want to quit advertising. Because if you do that, it'll literally destroy you.
That really is powerful stuff. We've heard that from some of the biggest names in the industry are saying that everybody cares about driving that fancy car to impress people that don't even like them or that they don't even like. And then
they
they're
don't
talking
care.
about
Yeah, they don't
and that
care.
don't care, but then they're talking about how business might be slow and stuff. If you just put that all into that.
Well, Mike, I think the biggest thing is, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I want to bring it across to people. It doesn't happen overnight. And when you talk about branding, you know, I think the older you get, the more I realize too, because probably very, very high percent of the people that come in this store every day are people that have been here. And you set up a name, but also they also hear you on TV. I can't tell you how many people come in and say, "Man, I seen you on there, or I seen you over here, or what about that ad, or whatever." You know, everything that we cut, and we've had fun doing that. So I think the more you can get involved with Mike and Michelle on cutting some videos and cutting some ads, and it's amazing what it can do for you. But the biggest thing, I think, they can pinpoint things down to where you want it to be. So that's kind of what I am.
Yeah.